And there you have it. The markets are officially closed on this Friday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to all the traders and investors out there. I'm AJ Monte, and this is a daily candle chart of DIA. And as you can see here, as I magnify that candle, that is a bearish Harami. We talk about that quite often because the bearish Harami and the bearish engulfing candle, which is what you see right there, are related. So here's a bearish Harami followed by a bearish engulfing. What happened after that? The market dropped. Here we have a bearish Harami once again, and we are anticipating the market to drop. Now look down below, you'll see that that red bar right there represents the volume for today. It is a lower volume bar than what we saw yesterday. If you've been following along with my market reports, you'll know that an increase in volume on the way up as the price goes higher is bearish. It tells us that the buyers are running out of momentum. Down below, you could see right there, the stochastic is starting to hinge. And as we go further down, you could see that the CCI is about to pivot, and it's just above that zero line. We're 18.153. Look at that blue bubble above that zero line. So once we cross below that, we generally get a continued move in the direction of the cross. That's exactly what we saw here. And I tell our members all the time that it's usually 2 to 4 days of downside momentum in the direction of the cross. Like I said before, look here, you see we crossed down below the momentum line and we continued for much longer than 4 days, but you can see how powerful that zero line is. So that's DIA. My downside target is still in place, not moving that at all. That's a 425.51. Looking at IWM, which is the Russell 2000 ETF, you can see that the price has gone up over the past couple of days. We do have a drop in volume right there. The CCI has not yet pivoted. In fact, it's just crossing above. So we might see a couple of days to the upside on IWM as we test this resistance from here. You could see that resistance level at these highs are going to act as resistance. So ultimately, I think we could pull back from that resistance, and my downside target is still down there at 220.23. We came very close to hitting that target right here on the 3rd of February. We missed that one by 44 cents. And I do think we're going to head right back down because we're stuck in more or less a trading range. You see how we're just oscillating within this range. So that's IWM. Looking at the Qs, which is the tech sector, QQQ is the ticker symbol. You can see we have this small body candle on much lower volume right at this resistance high here. So we are expecting a pullback in the Qs as well. Look at that long stretch of green. We have 5 green candles in a row. That's known as a stale green light. So I am expecting the markets to pull back at that resistance point. Again, keep an eye on that CCI. We're getting a slight hinge right there. That's the second highest reading on the CCI for this year so far, and that's an overbought condition. So as soon as we start seeing the CCI pivoting lower, that will be the lead that we have to follow to the downside. Again, my downside target on the Qs is 510.16. We hit that level a couple of times. I think we're going to hit it again. And if we take a step back and look at the monthly chart for the Qs, you can see how overbought the condition is of the market. This is a much higher price high. I talk about that quite often as the divergence in the CCI. It's a negative divergence. When we have higher price highs but lower highs on the CCI, that's generally what happens in the highs as we're about to turn to the downside. Here again is a negative divergence that we saw from here to here. It lasted for about the same period of time as what we're seeing right now. So I think we're long overdue for that sell-off. Again, going back to the daily chart, you can see that the Qs, again, it looks more like a double top forming here. It's not exactly a textbook M top that we would normally see because it's, again, stuck in a range between these highs and this role reversal low. So we're stuck in this price range. If we were to break out below the bottom of that channel, which I think ultimately we will, you measure that by taking the height of the channel and connecting that and projecting out to the downside, forming another channel in a range that's going to be more or less similar to what we saw in this upside channel right here. So that is the cues. We're very excited about our positions because we have 13 positions and 7 out of the 13 are negative delta or bearish positions. We still play the market to the upside. We have a great winning streak right now in 2025, especially for our equity traders and our matrix traders, which are the directional option traders. By the way, if you are interested in sampling some of our publications, you can sign up for the 15-day free membership, and we'll make sure you get into the group so that you could watch our videos, whether they be recorded or you could watch them live. And we don't charge a single penny for that, nor do we require credit cards to be put down. We don't play that sales game. You heard me say that before, but we stick to that because we want people to feel comfortable with what we're doing. And we prove ourselves over and over again, especially to the 15-day trial members. And if there's any 15-day trial members out there that want to shout out and share your experience and what you've had so far, feel free to do that in the comments below. All right, moving on to SPY, which is the S&P 500 ETF. You can see here again, we're hitting this resistance area. That is a spinning top on much lower volume. Let me magnify that. Look at that volume. That's one of the lowest volume days we've had in a long time. And as a result of that drop in volume, we're seeing a hinge forming on that CCI. That's, again, a hinge is what we see right before a pivot. In addition to that, you could see that the stochastic here is showing a negative divergence. And so we're looking forward to the downside on the SPY because we also have a diagonal calendar put spread that we're working on that. And lower prices would allow us to take in more credits for the expiration month. So we're looking forward to collecting those credits, which again helps us pay down the cost basis of some of these spreads. So for those that are brand new to option trading, the big message here is that we use the market's money to pay for our longer term positions. And over time, the cash that we collect allows us to pay down the cost basis until the cost basis is completely paid off to zero. Once we have a zero cost basis, we now have a risk-free position that we call cash cows. We're doing this with GME. We're doing this with Restoration Hardware. We're doing this with a good number of our positions. And it's always fun when that happens to be trading risk-free because now we're using spreads like we would a more or less a virtual ATM machine. We're pulling cash out of the market each and every month. So that's SPY downside target still down there, 590.63. We've hit it already. And again, here's another price range that we're stuck in. It's more or less a trading range. And that looks pretty negative right there with that slightly red body candle known as a spinning top. Spinning tops and dojis are usually found at pivot points. If you look back here, we see another very similar candle, except that's a slightly bigger body. Here's a spinning top, again, just days before the ultimate high. Here's a spinning top that's almost a doji. You see how they more or less get smaller? That's a sign of indecision. And we, like I said before, we generally see those at pivot points. So we're still looking to the downside. Looking at the VIX, again, very, very interesting. We had a roundtable discussion yesterday with the Zero Hedge experts. If you're lucky enough to be one of the premium members for Zero Hedge, you may have had a chance to catch that. There was an article that came out that followed that session. I'll put the link to that in the description box below. But we talked about volatility, and I explained how I trade volatility, or at least use the VIX, the volatility index, as a leading indicator. If I zoom in here, you'll see that the CCI is the second lowest reading on the VIX that we've had all year. Now, what does that mean? It means that we're most likely going to rally up. especially off of the support level right here. Now, I do have an extreme upside target on the VIX set at 27 right here. And I do think that we're going to hit that eventually. So keep an eye on that. How do we use that? Well, when the VIX starts turning up, we add to our negative delta positions, or we add to our bearish positions, like what we're doing with the diagonal calendar put spreads. Again, if you're unfamiliar with diagonal calendar put spreads, just plug in. I try to make it very easy for people to learn with how-to videos, how to trade, what to trade, when to trade them, and also how to manage risk on any of these trades that you might put on. All right, let's go to some of the economic news. What we're looking at here, and some of you may be experiencing this, U.S. Midwest large egg prices hit a record $7.82. Now, this is over 500% increase in just a few months. Now, we have our own private little farm that we keep in Cedar Key. So we raise our chickens, we have our own fresh eggs. And I got to tell you, right now, laying hens are worth their weight in dollars. No kidding. In fact, we're going to go pick up some more at the beginning of March. And so if you have the ability to keep chickens, you don't have to worry about the price of eggs, because feed prices are still relatively low. And if you have free-ranging chickens like we do, it costs hardly anything, because they go out there and eat all the crickets and the grasshoppers and whatever else they can find. But yeah, that's inflationary, no doubt about that. And eggs are a big part of the American diet. It's also in a lot of the baked goods that you buy in the supermarket. So cakes and cookies and anything that has eggs in it is also going to go up, because the price of eggs is starting to go much higher. Now, looking at what's happening with auto loan delinquency rates, you can see here that this is a stat that is skyrocketing. And what is that? That's pre-recession. That's what this means. Recessionary indicators such as this are something you can rely on. Most of the analysts out there are not going to use the R word, but we are, in fact, in a recession. It's just not being reported. At least I believe we're in a recession just based on what we're seeing. What is a recession? Well, if you think about it, it's nothing more than consumers who are cutting back on their spending. Most people are still behind on the curve. They're living week to week. Some are living month to month. But whatever the case, people have to cut back on their spending to make ends meet. And that's what a recession is. They are no longer spending. So what happens is you have retail outlets are absolutely going to suffer because they're sitting on inventory that's not moving. So they ultimately have to lower their prices to get the product out the door. Go look at what's happening on any Ford dealership lot. You're going to see that there's still a lot of 2024 pickups still on the lot. They're not making room for the 2025s until the 2024 models sell. As soon as they start bringing in the 2025s, they have to now take a hit on the 2024 inventory. And so this is not looking good for the auto industry at all. And we also have to talk about the manipulation that we've been up against. Check this one out. Year over year change in total non-farm employment creation or jobs creation for March was revised from 2,900,000 to 2,346,000. You're talking almost 600,000 jobs in this revision. That is basically proving that there has been manipulation with the data. And I've been talking about this for a long time, but now you're starting to see the evidence, and the real numbers are starting to come out under this Trump administration. I think you're going to see a lot more of this as the real numbers hit the street, and eventually the markets will react to it. Now, let's talk a little bit about gold. I cannot tell you exactly what's happening in the gold and silver market, but I can tell you this is not the norm. What we're seeing here in the transfers of physical gold from the Bank of England to the New York vaults is almost unbelievable. This is very similar in this spike as what we saw just prior to the COVID crash. Now, look at the dates down here. COVID did not hit until the beginning of 2020 right here. So the inventory in the vaults was growing before the COVID pandemic hit full speed ahead. What are we seeing now? We're seeing a buildup in the vaults because COMEX is up against their very strong delivery notices that are coming in. Take a look at this. This is the most recent one that I found that came out on February 7th. And I want you to look at the increases week after week. 29,000 and change, 40,000 and change, 44, 47, 50, 52, 55,000 contracts of gold futures are now being taken in delivery. Now, if you don't know what a futures contract is, it's basically when you buy a futures contract, you own the right to hold 100 ounces of gold per contract. Okay, so if you hold that past the expiration date, COMEX is now obligated and mandated to deliver the gold to you. So going back to that chart, looking at the vaults being stacked up with gold, they are anticipating an increase in the delivery notices by the futures traders. So someone or some institution or a combination of all of the above there are building gold in the physical form. So it tells me something is about to happen. And I can't tell you exactly what that something is, but it certainly feels like something is brewing here, and it's something big. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the manipulation because I'm going to show you what happened. Right after the market closed yesterday, I took a snapshot of Airbnb. And what happened is they came out with earnings, and right before the earnings announcement, you could see this big buildup of volume. What that tells me is that the news was leaked out ahead of time, and traders were taking action on that pre-announced news right there. You could see that the news announcement on the earnings didn't come out for at least 5 minutes after the close, and then right after that happened, what did the price do? It went vertical. And then they continued to buy to push it even higher. This is a classic pump and dump that you normally see on earnings. Is becoming more and more common. And you might wonder, why in the world are they always announcing the earnings after the market closes or before the market opens? Well, this is why. Because the markets are thinly traded after the markets close, and the pre-market hours, it's very thinly traded. So they can, on very light volume, push this price around. And I was telling everyone yesterday on our equity call to keep an eye on this for the opening, because I said, more or less in the prediction, that on the very first minute of the day, you're going to see all of this volume get dumped on the very first minute, and you'll probably see the price drop on the opening. And what happened? Well, look at the opening. Right on the opening, there's that big volume bar. They dumped all of the shares that they bought in the previous day in the after-hour session, and you could see how the price immediately fell in the first 5 minutes. Now, ultimately, it rallied back up and started to trade lower during the course of the day, but that is the classic pump and dump on earnings. So keep your eyes out on that. I'm telling you this so that you don't get caught in the hype or the trap that a lot of people get caught in. I do not recommend anyone trade in the after hour or pre-market session because you're up against professional traders that know exactly how to manipulate price. So I would say stay away from it if at all possible. Folks, I use the 7-point trading checklist. You're more than welcome to take a screen grab of this, or you can send us an email at ajmembers, plural, at stickytrades.com, ajmembers at stickytrades, and we'll send you a PDF copy of this. Thank you so much for liking and sharing and subscribing and commenting. Let me know how you're doing in the market. I would love to know. Last week I asked everyone where they were dialing in from. I was amazed at how many people from around the world are listening to this report each and every Friday. Thank you so much. You're helping us grow the channel, and you're helping others learn about us so they too can learn about the charts. Again, thank you. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you next time. So long.
In a world of endless data, where every second counts, introducing Nod Live, your professional compass in the chaos of the stock market. Nod Live cuts through the noise. Stay ahead with Nod Live.